closer and listen carefully. Tonight's story takes us to the deep, mystical heart of New Orleans, a city soaked in music, misery, and old, forgotten powers. This isn't just a story about crime or modern evil. No, this is older, darker, prehistoric in vengeance. This is the story of Marcus Dubious. Marcus Dubious wasn't evil, not in the way we define monsters. He was charming, cultured, sharp as obsidian, and just as cold. But ambition? Oh, that was his poison. Marcus collected rare objects, strange objects pulled from forgotten corners of the world. Things that hummed at night and bled under the moon. He wasn't a believer. He didn't pray. He possessed. He loved the powerful, the forbidden, the kind of things wrapped in old cloth and sealed with wax. Items whispered about in hushed backroom auctions. And none obsessed him more than the relics of voodoo. Not that he prays, not that he follows the spirits. And he doesn't believe in the prayers. He doesn't believe in the spirits. Not the veve written in ash on temple floors. No. Marcus wanted the look, the power, the pulse beneath the charm. He thought he could collect misery without consequences. The spirits were mere artifacts waiting to be appraised according to him. But he was wrong. So terribly wrong. That obsession led him to dangerous mistakes. Because one day, he laid his hands on something that didn't want to be held. And something laid its hands on him. Marcus got his hands on something rare. Not just rare, sacred, ancient, alive. A Gris-Gris bag. Not the kind you find at trinket stalls or painted in gold for tourists. This one was stitched by hand with thread that had once been alive. Thread that once pulsed in something warm and screaming. The leather, it wasn't just leather. It was warm, like skin, still remembering blood. It clung to his palm, like it had found its owner or returned to one. The smell of the bag hit him first. Grave-soaked, a violent blend of wet moss, rusted iron, dried blood, and something deeper. Something wrong. Not of this world. Inside nestled a crumbling cloth, the color of dried rot. There were splintered bone pieces, thin and cracked like whispers from the ribs. Dead herbs, long forgotten, still reeking of rituals performed under blood moons. And in the heart of it, there nestled a tiny, black carved dog. But this dog wasn't carved to be admired. It stared with human eyes, glassy, knowing, unblinking. Eyes that didn't belong to any dog or man, but something in between. unfolded with trembling purpose, a warning written in fading, frantic strokes. It reads, "For Papa Legba, payment rendered. Do not disturb the balance." Marcus smiled. He had no idea the balance wasn't his to disturb. But Legba did. Oh, Legba. That night, Marcus dreamed. But it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like summons. In that dream, he stood at a broken crossroads. The dirt cracked like veins in sun-baked bone. Above him, the moon hung low and yellow, sickly, like it was rotting from the inside. Not a single sound, no wind, no stars, just the kind of silence that presses on the chest. And then he appeared, tall, thin as a shadow stretched too long. His presence dripped through the air like molasses over grave soil. A wide-brimmed hat cast his face in darkness, except for the eyes. Eyes like voids, endless, hungry. Not burning, not glowing, just watching. He leaned on a cane, crowned with a skull that still whispered, "If you listen too long." His clothes were sharp, too clean for this filthy place. A contradiction, a warning. Papa Legba, the lawyer who stands at the gate, the one who sees what mortals dare not. He said nothing, no thunder, no riddles, no sound at all. He just lifted one long dark finger and pointed, not at Marcus. He pointed towards the distance, toward the house, toward the Gris-Gris bag. Marcus jolted awake, lungs tight, skin sick with sweat. The air reeked of vetiver and dust, and something older, something left behind. He laughed it off. Stress, the heat. Dreams mean nothing, right? But later that day, the city had changed. The air tasted colder. Even when the sun beat down, it was still cold. Jazz music on the corner now sounded like mourning. Strangers looked at him too long, or not at all. Each morning, he notices veves drawn in white chalk. They were strange symbols that appeared on his doorstep. Every night, someone left offerings. Rum, cigarettes, black feathers, dead crows, but no one ever claimed them. And then his body began to betray him. His hands trembled when he touched the bag. His reflection, just a second off, like it was watching him. His hair started to gray at the roots. His eyes began to turn yellow. The pupils started narrowing like a jackal's. The dreams came every night now. But Legba no longer pointed. He waited, smiling. First, it was just a pressure in his chest, a weight like grief or something watching him from the inside out. He chalked it up to exhaustion, the city, the heat, but then came the bruises. A bruise formed on his chest, dark, purple, black. It was in the shape exactly like the carved dog inside the Gris-Gris bag. Snout, ears, tiny paws, folded in a way no accident could mimic. It appeared just below his collarbone, and it paused. Not like a muzzle twitch, no, like a second heartbeat. Separate, defiant, but alive. Marcus tried to ignore it, but every night the carved dog in the bag would be in different places. Once he saw it on the window sill, once next to his toothbrush, another time on his chest, warm and damp like it had just been born. He couldn't breathe. Terrified now, Marcus did what his pride once mocked him. He went to see a mambo, a voodoo priestess in the outer edges of Treme. Her name was Mother Celine. She lived in a house that smelled of cloves, bone dust, and fried plantains. Her walls were lined with jars, teeth, feathers, snakes, coiled tight in an amber. She looked at him like she had seen him in a nightmare before. "You touched what was paid for," she said. Voice brittle like rusted bells. "You disturbed the balance. Now you will pay." Marcus tried to explain. He didn't mean it. He didn't mean to offend. He was just a collector, a scholar, a curious art collector. But Celine's eyes, cloudy, white as candle wax, cut through his excuses. And she said, "Curiosity without permission?" She hissed. "It is a thief's hunger, and thieves don't beg, they bleed." She made him sit. She lit 7 candles in a circle, and she drew verves on the floor in ash and salt. Then she opened the Gris-Gris bag and screamed. Not yelled, not gasped. Screamed. High, sharp, and final, like something had just grabbed her soul by the throat. The dog was no longer wooden. It was wet, soft, breathing. The dog's eyes rolled like marbles, like human eyes, wide and watching. "It has marked you," she whispered, backing away. "What do I do?" Marcus begged. He was trembling. But she was already turning her face from him. "Papa Legba has been fed. You disturbed his plate. Now you are offering your life." Marcus begged to return it, but it was too late. "The one who sent it paid their debt by sending you the bag," she said. "Now the debt is yours. A Legba's hound, it always collects." Marcus rushed home. He tried to destroy the bag. He tried to burn it. He tried to tear it down. And he tried to lock it away. But nothing worked. The carved dog couldn't be burned, couldn't be broken. And even inside a safe, Marcus heard scratching sounds coming from the inside. Then came the sounds, close tapping across the floor, breathing. Right behind the door, his reflection, sometimes his eyes staring back at him, were not his. They were yellow. They were animal-like. They were waiting and watching. His body got weaker. His food tasted like ash. His sleep, non-existent, gone. All he saw in his dreams was Legba, always pointing, always waiting. The mark on his chest spread. It spread all around his body, like a tattoo of veins covering him all over. On the 7th night, the air in Marcus's house grew thick, like wet wool over the mouth of God. It was hard to breathe and harder to think. The power blinked once, twice, and then died completely. No wind, no traffic, no hiss of anything. Only the guttering sound of candles clinging to life. Marcus lit 3 more candles. They all died off. He then lit another 5. And each flame bent left as if bowing to something unseen. And then came the heavy thumping sounds. A low, heavy sound from the study. Dum, dum, dum. It wasn't footsteps. No, it was too thick, too meaty. The sound of a tail dragging, slapping, slow and deliberate. The sounds crept through the walls in his house. And Marcus froze. Flesh chilled. And then he remembered the bruise. It was hot now, swollen, pulsing like it knew. Marcus ran. He ran and ran and ran. Not down the hall, not to the door. He locked himself in the bedroom, whispering half-remembered prayers in languages he didn't even understand. The walls were mourning. The candles dimmed. And then the doorknob moved. Not turned, moved. It bent, twisted slowly, like someone was testing it from the other side. But it wasn't a hand. No fingers, no grip. Just something brushing against it, dragging, curling around, like a fog with teeth. Then the wood creaked. The shadows under the door shuddered like breathing silk. And something whispered through the crack. No words, no threats, names. His name. Marcus. Marcus. Drawn out too long. Spoken like it was being licked from the underside of a throat that shouldn't exist. He backed away, knocking over his candles. The wax spilled like blood on the floor. He slipped and hit the dresser. The carved wood was there on top of the mirror, smiling. And then silence. No more thumbs, no more dragging tail. Just the damn bruise on his chest, beating, beating, beating. He hauled up under the bed, shaking. Somewhere below the floorboards, he swore he had breathing. The door creaked open, nothing but darkness. Then 2 yellow eyes lowered down and peeped at him under the bed. And from the shadows stepped a massive black hound, mangled, bare-fleshed. His mouth dripped thick saliva that hissed where it touched the floor. The calf dog was now alive. Legba's collector is here to collect. After what seems like eternity, Marcus opened his eyes. He wandered to the door and wanted to run out of the house. The street was gone. The buildings melted. There was no sky. Just a crossroads, cracked, dry and endless, with a sick yellow moon swinging low in the sky like a nose. And there, again, was Papa Legba. Tall, thin, dressed in a black suit that moved like smoke. Hat low, cane gripped, a skull grin splitting his face like a broken piano key. This time he spoke. I told you not to disturb the balance. Marcus fell to his knees. He tried to plead, but his voice cracked like glass. He held up the bag, offered it back, but Legba just laughed, a sound that made the crossroads bleed. You took the offering. Now you are the offering. And then the calf dog crawled out of Marcus's chest. They found his house weeks later. The house was empty. Nobody was inside. Just a scorched sign burned into the floor. And a Gris-Gris bag, still warm, still pulsing. And in the corner of the study, a mirror hung crooked. And sometimes, just sometimes, if you stood very still, you could see a man trapped behind the glass, scratching, begging, smiling with someone's teeth. Papa Legba always collects. And Marcus dubious, he's just another echo now, another payment, balance restored. And you, sleep if you can.